To apply the sales tax to a purchase price, you find the tax by multiplying the purchase price by the percent of the tax and then add the tax to the purchase price to find the total cost. You can also add the percent of the tax to the percent of the purchase price, which is 100%, and then multiply the purchase price by the combined percent. To verify this, find the total cost with a 7 and 5/10% sales tax included on the purchase prices of a pair of jeans, a shirt, and a belt shown in matrix P. Employ the method without using the distributive property, matrix T sub 1, and with using it, matrix T sub 2. And so we want to find the price with tax without using the distributive property and with using it. And so let's just go with first, it tells us that we can find the tax by multiplying the purchase price by the percent and then adding it. And so that would be, two separate things there. And then the second way is just adding the percent of the tax to the percent of the purchase price. So the percent of the tax, 7.5%, as a decimal, that would be 75 thousandths. And then it says we can add that to 100%, which as a decimal would be 1.00 or just 1. And so let's actually do it without the distributive property first. And so without the distributive property, then we know that it tells us here we could just add the percent of the tax, 75 thousandths as a decimal, and then plus 1. And then we could just multiply that by the matrix. And so the way that we would do this without distributing, then we just would add together what's in parentheses. So 1 plus 75 thousandths is just 1 and 75 thousandths, and then multiplied by our matrix. So then this is just a scalar, so multiplying this by each entry, then first one, 1 and 75 thousandths times 45 and 79 hundredths, we get 49.22425. And since these are cents at a store, then we're just going to round up on each of these because if it's a long decimal, the store owners don't want to lose any money by rounding down. So we'll just round up each time, so it'd be 0.23 on the first one, and then the second one, multiplying 1 and 75 thousandths by the second entry, we get 25 and 36 hundredths, again rounding up, and then the third one, I'm just using a calculator for these, 1 and 75 thousandths times 10 and 99 hundredths is 11 and 82 hundredths. And then to do this with distributing, then we could use the same idea that we could first multiply by the sales tax and then add the regular purchase price. And so that would be distributing separately instead of just, adding those two percentages first. So to do that, we could just take the sales tax and multiply it by the original prices, and then we could add, plus 1 times the original prices. So this way is clearly longer, and so if we're going for speed, we'd want to do T sub 1, but then T sub 2 here. The one nice thing maybe about this one is that we are going to find out exactly how much the tax is, because we're going to have to multiply 7.5% by this matrix. And again, we will be rounding up since this is a store, and it will be in cents. And so we'll round to the hundredths. So first, 75 thousandths times 45 and 79 hundredths, we get 3 and 44 hundredths. For the next one, 1 and 77 hundredths. And the next will be 82, but then rounding up, 83 cents, or 83 hundredths. And then adding, and then 1 times anything is just itself, so we'll just have the original matrix here. And then now we can just add these together. Since they're the same dimensions of matrix, we can just go ahead and add. So 3 and 44 hundredths plus 45 and 79 hundredths. And I'm just using calculator for these. Gives us 49 and 23 hundredths. 1 and 77 hundredths plus 23 and 59 hundredths. Remember, we're just adding together corresponding entries. Gives us 25 and 36 hundredths. And 83 hundredths plus 10 and 99 hundredths gives us 11 and 82 hundredths. And so there we have T sub 2, and notice that it is the same as T sub 1. So it doesn't matter which way you do it, but the second way, we just actually saw what the actual tax was, and then added it. We just had one extra step there. And so let's go ahead and summarize our answer. Without the distributive property, there are fewer steps to finding the total cost of the items. T sub 1 equals 75 thousandths plus 1 times 45 and 79 hundredths, 23 and 59 hundredths, 10 and 99 hundredths. T sub 1 equals 1 and 75 thousandths times 45 and 79 hundredths, 23 and 59 hundredths, 10 and 99 hundredths. T sub 1 equals 49 and 23 hundredths, 25 and 36 hundredths, 11 and 82 hundredths. With the distributive property, you can see the tax on the individual items. T sub 2 equals 75 thousandths times 45 and 79 hundredths, 23 and 59 hundredths, 10 and 99 hundredths, plus 1 times 45 and 79 hundredths, 23 and 59 hundredths, 10 and 99 hundredths. T sub 2 equals 3 and 44 hundredths, 1 and 77 hundredths, 83 hundredths, plus 45 and 79 hundredths, 23 and 59 hundredths, 10 and 99 hundredths. T sub 2 equals 49 and 23 hundredths, 25 and 36 hundredths, 11 and 82 hundredths. Either way, the total costs are the same.